Hi there, welcome back to another CryptoDave video. So finally I have an update for the channel. It's not lost on me that the last video I actually put out was almost a year ago, where I intended to start recording videos again and I never actually got around to it, but I am definitely going to do that now. I have been receiving a number of messages, comments and stuff like that, some through email, some through X, some through the YouTube channel, and people are still watching the videos. I'm not sure how much value they're getting out of them, as the last time I did an actual genuine sort of like update kind of video was back in the middle of 2022, and things have been a bit crazy since then. But I am back, and my intention is to make videos on this channel for the next 4 years. So I'm committed to doing videos for the next 4 years, basically run what I see as an entire 4-year cycle. So I thought a good way to start this is by going into some of the questions that I've received over the last year, and then more recently a number of questions over the last month or so. So I thought I'll go through those, give you a quick kind of update, answer those kind of questions, because often I get the same question from different people. I do tend to answer them. If it's come via email, I tend to email back, but if I have missed anything, particularly on the YouTube channel, sometimes comments get marked as spam, and I haven't really spent a lot of time within YouTube Studio looking at these things recently. So let's jump in. We'll have a look at the kind of questions, and I'll hopefully answer your questions about what I'm going to be doing with the channel over the next few months and years. So these basically are kind of questions that I've kind of collated that I've received, some of them going back a little bit longer, but a lot of them over the last month or so. So I thought I'll go through those bits and bobs. That will hopefully give you an idea of what I've been up to, what I've got planned going forward. So firstly, where have I been? It sounds a bit kind of crazy, but I was in the process of moving house back in the middle of 2022, and the videos I did back then were generally on a Friday afternoon, and I remember one Friday afternoon I had a viewing on some properties, and then the following Friday I had viewings on properties. I was really busy with various stuff, getting my house at the time ready for sale and stuff like that, and I kind of just got out of the habit of doing them, and then sort of one thing led to another, and suddenly it was like 2 or 3 months since I'd done a video, and then just kind of got out of the habit really of doing them, and let it kind of tail off. I also had quite a few kind of family bits to deal with, most of which I've kind of got out to the other end of those, but it's been a really busy kind of couple of years. So apologies for that, but I am back now. Next question, are you going to do more videos? Absolutely. As I mentioned, I've got a plan now to sort of commit to the next 4 years, which I see as a sort of crypto cycle, or traditional kind of crypto cycle. So I will be doing videos between now, definitely up until the end of 2029, and then we'll see what happens, see what kind of appetite there is for the channel and the videos that I'm putting out. What am I doing now? So day job is the same, still working ad tech, although I have taken a position, and for the last year or so I've been running a smallish crypto fund, generating yield with DeFi, and utilizing basically crypto as kind of collateral for that. I'm going to be doing that. I've committed for the next 4 years basically for that now, that I'll be running that fund as Chief Strategy Officer. So I'm going to be doing that. Some of that will carry over into the YouTube channel. There will be a limit to what I can kind of post in terms of specifics about the actual kind of fund, but a lot of the core kind of content of how we're generating yield and stuff like that will be relevant to my own personal kind of crypto holdings. So hopefully that will be a good kind of like tie-in with what I'm doing on a daily basis, and the YouTube channel itself. Do I still own crypto? Yeah, absolutely. I am largely in stablecoins. I've been largely in stablecoins since the end of last year. I think once we got to sort of end of November, I started thinking we haven't got enough time basically till the end of the year to have another kind of pump up, and it looked increasingly like that 126k was the top for kind of Bitcoin of this kind of cycle, or the previous cycle, I should probably say. So I started moving most of my kind of crypto holdings into stablecoins. Completed that sort of over the kind of Christmas New Year period. I do own small amounts of kind of crypto. I'd never be completely out of it, but I have moved personally largely into stablecoins, and that's what I'm kind of holding largely at the moment. Am I still using CeFi projects? So I've had a lot of kind of questions about various CeFi kind of projects. This is largely due to the fact that my last set of kind of videos that I was doing sort of almost 4 years ago now, I did a lot of stuff covering passive income and CeFi projects such as, BlockFi, Celsius, LED, and Nexo, Crypto.com. A lot of those went bust. I think possibly one of the reasons I kind of like stepped away as well was that I felt a little unfair that I was getting kind of a lot of I was getting a lot of grief from people basically online. I remember a couple of months before I stopped doing the videos, I put out a video saying that I was basically out of all these kind of like CeFi kind of projects, and people then started accusing me of sort of fudding Celsius and stuff like that. A few people then reached out and said, thanks very much for the kind of videos, because I actually kind of, withdrew stuff from Celsius. But, it's difficult. I've never given financial advice online. I only ever tell you my kind of opinions on things. So I'm not sure if that may be tied into the reason why I kind of like stepped away from, jumping back on and doing the videos when I had a little bit more time. But I am still using some centralized finance kind of projects. I use Ledden for yield on stable coins. I have a small amount in Nexo as well because of their crypto-backed debit card. I use Coinbase as an on-ramp. I really like that because you can withdraw across different kind of chains with no fees. So if you had kind of Bitcoin in Coinbase, you can withdraw it on the base network, which I use a lot for DeFi. So I use that as an on-ramp for fiat, basically. I always use the advanced interface. The fees and the spread are really high if you just do the basic one. But I do use that as an on-ramp for pounds in my case, but dollars in other areas, or euros. And I use Strike. Haven't for a little while, but I used Strike last year, or over the last kind of couple of years when it came to the UK, purely for buying Bitcoin. Has institutional investment changed the 4-year cycle? Possibly yes and no, I would say. I am not one of these people who is the 4-year cycle's dead. I remember, last year, a lot of, people within the kind of crypto space were like, the 4-year cycle's dead, 4-year cycle's dead, institutional money means that, we're not going to have a 4-year cycle. And yet we might not have had the blow off top of previous kind of cycles, but we hit an all-time high Q4 of the post-halving year. We then went into, or we are now going into a bear market. I strongly believe we are in a bear market. I don't believe this is just a temporary dip and we're going to go back to all-time high. And there are still people, I see on YouTube and on X and stuff like that saying, this is just a dip. We're going to go higher. We're going to have all-time highs in 2026. I don't personally think that's the case. I think this looks like a traditional kind of bear market, and I think we'll go lower from where we are. And as I'm recording this, we're currently about $72,500 for Bitcoin. So it's rallied a little bit over the last week or so. From that sort of hourly wick down to about 60 kind of K, we've come up, we've rejected, we've come up a little bit more. But I think we would have to go, probably over 80K or so by the beginning of April to have any chance of this not being a bear market. I don't think that's going to happen. I think, March, we've been due a bounce. We haven't really had any meaningful bounce since the all-time high in end of October or middle of October. So we're due a bounce. I think it will be, a smallish kind of bounce. Maybe we'll go to 75, something like that. But then I think we'll probably go down possibly next kind of month. I'm always open to changing my mind. If we bounce around 70, low 70s for a few months, there's a chance that 60K was the low, and the low is already in. But I don't personally think that's the case. Nextly, should I buy Bitcoin? If you're looking over a long period, I would say yes. Not financial advice. I believe in Bitcoin in the long term. Do I think, over the next few months it might go lower than where we are now, 72.5K? Yes, but do I think, in a few years it's going to be higher than this? Absolutely. And the easiest thing to do if you want to buy, some people kind of crypto, I would say, if you're just interested in starting, always buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin should be the majority of your kind of holdings, always should be. Just dollar cost average. And you can do this through a lot of online platforms, Coinbase, Strike, wherever. You put your money in and just dollar cost average. So every week or every month, buy a small amount of Bitcoin, however much you want to kind of invest. And just do it that. Remove any kind of emotion from that. just buy every week or every month, regardless of kind of price in the long term, that will be a fairly successful strategy, I would say. Moving on to the next few questions. Do I have a price target for Bitcoin? I do, and this is liable to change. So I've had a target since sort of Christmas-ish time, and I think I posted this on X. My handle on X is CryptoDave UK, if you want to follow me there. And my initial kind of target was 50k, and this is where I'm hoping to start reaccumulating. So Bitcoin 50k. I think I also had a target of 1.5k for Ethereum and $50 for Solana. I am not going to be buying Ethereum. I have enough exposure through liquidity pools within the DeFi kind of space, so I will accumulate some through that, but I'm not actually looking to buy it. The vast majority will be Bitcoin. I do have some stable coins on Solana's chain. I've got some USDC on the Solana chain, and I am planning on buying 1,000 Solana if it comes down towards my kind of target. So that would be $50 for Solana, possibly a little bit lower. 50k for Bitcoin. I think if Bitcoin goes to 50k, I think 1,500 for Ethereum maybe is a little generous, and it will come down maybe 1,300, something like that. But again, these figures are provisional kind of figures. I haven't changed them in the last kind of 2 or 3 months. I think everything's sort of playing out as hopefully I anticipate. But if we stick around these kind of like slightly higher prices, we don't get another leg down, we go into the summer, around 70 odd K, I would, start to reconsider those kind of price targets. But at the moment, 50k for Bitcoin, and that's when I'll start hopefully averaging back into kind of Bitcoin positions. Will X see all-time highs again? And in this case, X can be any token basically, and I've had this question multiple times over the last year or so, and it could be from anything, dog with hat through to Bitcoin. My personal opinion is if it's one of the larger coins, so Bitcoin, yeah, absolutely. Ethereum, yeah. Solana, yes. Once you get outside those top few coins, yeah, almost certainly not. If you've been buying meme coins on pump.fun, at its peak, it's unlikely those coins will go back to all-time highs. Doesn't mean they won't, and some of them may well do, but the top coins, absolutely. Everything outside that, maybe not. There are coins that are smaller further down the list that I do like. Sui is an example. I think DeFi on Sui works pretty well. If that goes down enough, I will probably take a position in Sui at the kind of lows, or hopefully around the kind of lows. I'm not saying it will be a huge amount. Maybe it will be 1%, of my total kind of spend or something like that. But yeah, there are a few projects that I think are quite interesting. I think probably Sui out of the last cycle is one of the more interesting ones. What DeFi platforms do I recommend? I am going to do a follow-up video to this covering a lot of that. So just off the top of my head, Aave is probably the largest platform I kind of use. Very good on Ethereum mainnet and a lot of the EVM chains. I use it with Base a lot because of the low fees. There are lots of different platforms on lots of different kind of chains. So I'll do a follow-up video probably next week covering basically what I've got my stuff in at the moment, the platforms I'm using, the chains that I'm using, and all that kind of thing. So start with kind of Aave and stuff like that, the larger kind of platforms. I will do a follow-up video in the next week or so, outlining all the ones I've kind of used over the last year or so, and my recommendations. And finally, how do I generate cash flow for my crypto? So a lot of my videos back in the day were utilizing, CeFi platforms like Ledden and, BlockFi before it went kind of bust and stuff like that, to generate yield from crypto. And I'm doing that, largely through DeFi now. I do have, as I mentioned before, I do have some stable coins in Ledden. I like Ledden as a platform. It's been a solid platform for me over, many years. I'm not necessarily recommending it, but it is one that I've used. But I use, it's maybe 5 to 10% of my stables are in CeFi position compared to DeFi. And there's lots of ways to generate cash flow. Ultimately, I think it boils down to, and I'll talk about this in a lot more detail, but provide collateral with an asset that you think will outperform the other assets. So in a bear market, you'd be providing stable coins and borrowing Bitcoin or whatever it is against them, selling them immediately for stable coins, waiting for the price to go down to buy back. In a bull market, or once we reach a kind of bottom, you will be providing crypto. I provide pretty much exclusively Bitcoin as collateral, and then because you then think that Bitcoin will outperform stablecoins, you'll be borrowing stablecoins, putting those into liquidity pools, etc., etc. I will talk a lot more about the DeFi side of things in future videos, but that's how I generate kind of cash flow. You can just deposit stablecoins in in a platform like Coinbase or Ledn or whatever, and earn a yield. You can do exactly the same thing on DeFi through platforms like an Aave or XtraFi or whatever. Anyway, just a quick video today. I hope that's answered some of the questions. I'm really interested to hear what potentially you would be interested in hearing about. I'm happy to go outside the world of DeFi and stuff like that, which will probably form the core of my content over the next 4 years. But if there's other stuff you want to hear about, in the past, a lot of people have asked me about tax. It's quite a complex subject because I have subscribers from all over the kind of world. I'm based in the UK. Our rules here are very different from rules in the US or across various European countries. So I'm happy to kind of touch on subjects like that, but just let me know in the comments below if there's anything in particular you would like me to cover. But I hope you're all doing well. Again, apologies, it's been such a long time since my last video, but I am definitely going to be back now. As I said, I'll be here for the next 4 years minimum, hopefully doing weekly videos and a lot more on top of that. Anyway, take care. Hopefully see you soon. Bye bye.